we talked a little bit about too, about what makes you excited to jump out of bed in the morning. Like, I love this stuff. It doesn't feel like work to me. Every call I have with these clients, whether it's like they're scared, whether we're building or whether I'm helping them grow, it's fun. It's like a game. It's exciting. It's like, I'll get in the weeds, like ridiculous amount in the weeds, like the silliest thing. But like, to me, I freaking love it.
When you're driven, the need to accomplish a goal is relentless. Hard work and ambition compel you to do whatever's necessary. In my work as a personal injury trial lawyer for 18 years, it's common to meet driven people. Those with drive can have different personalities, careers, or backgrounds, but they possess one common factor. Despite their passions, driven people want to surround and motivate themselves with other driven people. If you want to learn how to overcome obstacles by learning from others, then tune in here. This is the Driven Crowd Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into episode 86 of the Driven Crowd Podcast, fueled by Snellings Law. I'm your host, Scott Snellings. Today, I'm joined by attorney and life coach, Wendy Meadows. Wendy is a seasoned family law attorney, former litigator, and certified life coach and mediator. She is also the author of the best-selling book, Sparkle and Grit, a framework that helps high-achieving women break free from burnout and live on purpose. Today, Wendy helps women who've checked all the boxes but still feel stuck. She blends practical strategies with a compassionate mindset to help them reboot their habits, reignite their purpose, and build lives that actually fit. She also works closely with lawyers, especially those ready to go solo or restructure their practices, offering strategic coaching, systems consulting, and speaking engagements for law firms looking to prevent burnout, increase retention, and foster sustainable success. Wendy, welcome to the Driven Crowd Podcast.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
All right. So tell me this. Get me started here. A little bit of background on where you grew up and how you got to where you are today.
Whew. Oh, goodness. Well, I grew up all over the place because I was a Navy brat for the first 10 years of my life.
Okay.
Bet you didn't get that. Bet you weren't going to get that. So Japan to Virginia Beach to Scotland, which is by far my favorite, to Columbia, Maryland, which is the first planned community, I believe, in the United States. That's where I say I grew up. So Columbia, Maryland, Howard County. And I lived there from 3rd grade to 12th grade. And the rest of it, and how I got here today.
Yeah.
Oh, I keep following the crumbs like Hansel and Gretel, right? Any crumb that is laid in my path, I'll call sparkle, because like the book Sparkle and Grit, a sparkle in my path designed to make me up. If it feels good in my body, I say yes. And I've just kept making those baby decisions to get me to where I am today. So that got me to where I went to college, to where I went to law school, to the type of law I wanted to practice, to the firm, to eventually going solo, to starting a health and wellness business, to then saying, I don't want to work for someone else in a health and wellness business. I think I can build this business on my own. What do I want it to be? I want to be a coach to lawyers. What do I want to do there? I want to help lawyers go solo. So just everything that in my body feels and sounds good is the sparkle, and the grit, like the drive. It's the hard work to get there to make sure my dreams become a reality.
Awesome. All right. So what was the sparkle, if you will, that led you into the law?
So when I went to law school, like a lot of us, when I went to college, like a lot of us, I thought I was going to be pre-med. So I feel like a lot of us...
Same.
Straight A student, like we're the straight A students, we're driven, we want to help people. I think we are all made up of that cloth or cut from that cloth. And med school seems like a good option. And I love science. I love science and math in high school. So I thought it was a natural progression. And then I got to college and I was like, oh, this isn't for me. Like I was a bio major and I hated biology, hated it to the point like my 6th graders taking very basic biology right now, in middle school.
Right.
And I can't help her with her homework. I look at it, I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't get into my brain, like absolutely hate it. So I'm glad I changed my major. Like, what can I do instead? I'm like, well, I love reading books. I love reading books and writing papers and arguing my point. So I quickly became an English major and I still had the desire to help others. And I knew I wanted to help kids. My whole life, I knew I wanted to help kids. I'm like, well, my parents went through a divorce. I could help other kids have a voice in the divorce process. Okay. I think law school is the better answer than being a pediatric physical therapist. So I still the same desire, still want to help children in some ways, but it became more personal at that point. And that's what led me to going to law school.
All right. And so how long did you practice family law?
I still am practicing. It just
Okay.
looks very different. So I've been practicing a little over 20 years.
Nice. All right. So family law, for those of you not in the legal world, family law is well known as being the most contentious area of practice out there. You would think maybe criminal law. No. Family law is by far and away the one where, at least based on my observations, you were constantly fighting. Sometimes over legitimate things, many times over not legitimate things, just because it's such an emotional process that people get up in arms and want to fight about anything and everything. So that wears down a whole lot of people. How did you deal with the constant daily confrontations?
Well, I got out. So how I ultimately dealt with it is I got out of litigation mode. Because you're completely right. It is not even just fighting with opposing counsel,
Right.
but you're fighting with opposing counsel. You're fighting usually with your own client because we have to explain the law and also serve as a sort of quasi-therapist as well, right? And then fighting with the court or fighting with what the law is. So you're in a constant state of fight all the freaking time. So how I dealt with it is I'm dealing with it even still to this day, changing how I practice and changing the bulk of my practice. So before I was like your run-of-the-mill family law attorney. I litigated, so that means litigation, depositions, being in court, discovery, like all the typical lawyery things. And about 5 years ago, I turned off the spigot to litigation. I said, no more litigation cases, and I'm going to make this up with mediation instead. So now I'm known in Maryland as a family law mediator. So I mediate these disputes, and I serve in that role as opposed to being a part of the problem. I'm hoping to be able to be one of the people to fix the problem. So that I changed actually the services I provided as an attorney. And then I also made that up with, providing services as a coach instead. And then in terms of how I dealt with it before, because even as I made this decision, right, as I said, I turned off the spigot to litigation. That didn't mean I wasn't a litigator anymore.
Right.
I still, 2 or 3 years left of trial in me because these cases take freaking forever.
Yeah.
So what I would do to keep myself calm, cool, and collected, I started a morning routine about 10 years ago that kept my body in shape, kept my mind in shape. I started a journaling practice, deciding who I wanted to be in the really difficult meetings or court hearings I knew I had in the day ahead. And also just making other healthy choices to show up as who I wanted to be. And I get to make that decision before I'm in a hard situation, as opposed to being tossed into a hard situation and being on defensive mode.
Yeah. And I think, whether you're a lawyer or not, you're probably dealing with conflict of some sort, right? Whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's with friendships, whatever. How do you coach people to show up in conflict?
That's a good question. So again, it's really looking at the day ahead. So how I coach people with particularity, and for example, you're going to be, I'm going to use a lawyer example again, but pretend your big focus of the day is you're going to be cross-examining the opposing party, and there's a particular piece of evidence that you want to get in, and there's going to be conflict there because there's going to be an objection.
Right.
And we have no control. Like, we know something bad is going to happen. We know there's going to be conflict with opposing counsel. We know there's going to be conflict with the judge. We know there's going to be conflict with our client in terms of getting that in. And so instead of trying to decide how everyone else is going to be, because we don't know exactly, except for conflict will be there, we can decide who we want to show up as in that moment and as that person, and to give us an adjective for who we want to be. So for this one particular trial that I'll remember for the rest of my life, had a formidable opposing counsel who was an amazing trial attorney. And I decided Wendy's going to be unwavering, like unwavering, calm, but unwavering. And so when he objected 3 times to this piece of evidence, rather than me lose my mind, and rather than me get frustrated or flustered or anything like that, I'm like, no, I'm unwavering, calm and unwavering. That's who I need to be. And it was like I had a dress rehearsal for it before, because that morning I had journaled about it. I had meditated about it. And then in the actual experience itself, I was that person, because we can really only control ourselves, right? We control ourselves. We can control our output. We can't always control the input, but we can decide who we want to present to the rest of the world. I also I'm a big proponent of meditation. I always get meditation, mediation mixed up. Like all the time. I have to
Fairly
spell check
different.
meditation. In turning off the spigot to litigation and doing more ADR work, I also am something called a parent coordinator, where I help basically the referee between two high conflict parents. And I have one case in particular that I block off 15 minutes on my calendar before and after every single meeting with them, because I have to meditate. If I don't go into that like in a very calm state and I don't have time afterwards to be in a calm state, I will take that conflict back home to my family, to my kids, to my other cases. So I want to make sure I leave that, I compartmentalize and I leave that in that particular situation, and it only sticks in there.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting what you said about controlling how you're going to show up, because you can't necessarily you can't control at all how other people are going to show up or outcomes. And I think one of the things that has really helped me, especially when we get to the really stressful parts of the practice, right? So think jury trials or big time expert depositions or cross examinations of party, things like that, is going in there with the mindset of, hey, look, how can I first and foremost have fun preparing for this? Right? How can I be joyful in having to do this? Because it's stressful, it's long hours, there's a bunch of stuff to do. How can I come in with the mindset of, you know what, how can we find joy here? I love strategy. All right. So I'm going to focus on how do we strategically put this together in a way that, we put the best story out there. We have the right witnesses in the right order, presenting the right evidence, all those things. And at the end of the day, being okay with whatever the outcome is, because we can't control the outcome. We don't know what a judge is going to do. We don't know what a jury is going to do. I mean, I don't think juries are just completely unpredictable. We don't know what kind of panel we're going to get when we get up there for jury selection. And so just being comfortable with the fact of, hey, look, I'm going to control what I can control. I'm going to do the very best I can. I'm going to try to find joy in that. And then the rest is the rest, right? Judge makes a call I completely disagree with or guts my case. Like, okay, well, we knew that could happen. So what do we do now? Well, we've already prepped for that. And that's where, all the hard work has come in. And so for me, kind of releasing the control over the outcomes has been a massive stress reliever in the preparation process. And then especially when you're actually up there doing the thing.
Right. And that's where I see people get burnt out. I was coaching one of my clients a week or two ago, and she was so upset about the outcome of a case. And it was a really hard outcome. And she was so tied to it, and her emotions were fried. She was fried. She was thinking maybe I shouldn't even practice law anymore. Like she was like really, really upset. But meanwhile, she's a fabulous family law attorney. She's young. She's up and coming. What I tell her all the time, she has what you can't teach, in terms of family law. And I'm like, you did not create these facts. You did not marry this person. Like this case isn't you. Like you're going to get judges that aren't always on your side. But you did a great job. Sort of like what you said, she did a great job. She did everything she could do. And I love that extra component that you're adding to it. And like, did she have fun doing it? Or did she find joy in doing it? And maybe it's not always like fun and the hard, like stuff, but it's like, could she find joy in the work that she did? Right. Could she find joy? And I'm going to use this next time I speak with her, joy in the preparation and joy knowing that she did the absolute best for her client that she could. Right. But other than that, like, we're not really in charge of these people, which is really hard. Right. And it's really, really, I think it's the hardest part of the job.
It is. And when things don't go your way, it is soul crushing, right? These people come to you with these massive issues and say, please help me. You say, all right, let's do it. You put your heart and soul into it. And when it doesn't go your way, it's devastating. You feel awful for your clients and you feel awful just in general, right? You went and lost the Super Bowl, right? Because of whatever reason, but it hurts. And I think that's why so many people, especially the ones who are snake bit by a trial loss, which if you go try enough cases, I don't care how good you are, you're going to lose. Right. And all of a sudden they have this fear. They don't want to get back in the courtroom again, or they don't want to go do the thing again where they had to overcome that devastation. And so how do you tell people like this lady that you were just talking about, how do you help them kind of change that perspective and say, look, yes, this was a quote unquote failure, right? We didn't win, but go autopsy what you did. Like, what are the things that you did really, really well that you're proud of, that you want to reuse? Hey, what missed? Where did you miss? And how do you kind of get over that fear of getting back in the ring again?
So with this woman in particular, I had her go backwards, and I had her think about other cases that she did a fabulous job, right? So just remembering she is a fabulous attorney. She did a fabulous job. She's still relatively new. She's probably only been trying cases for 3 years or so, right?
Oh, yeah. Super new.
And yeah, super duper new. And, like, I know particular information about this judge too, right? So also like sharing past stories with her and encouraging her to talk with her colleagues to know, okay, what happened isn't unique to her, right? It has happened to other attorneys as well. There is some home cooking brewing as well, in this particular courtroom with this particular judge. And then just like looking forward again, as I can see in her and like the way she talks about all of her cases is she's becoming so emotionally involved and emotionally attached to each one. So instead of just looking at like an attorney, right? Or like, when we're in law school and we get those like trial notebooks, like, and it's like, here's your Nita. It's like Nita, right?
Yep,
like,
Nita.
Here's box, here you go. Encourage her to start almost looking like at trials like that again for a while, as opposed to getting emotionally tied in and becoming best friends with our client and having that friendship component too. Like, I've had to remind her again and again, like, these aren't your friends. Like, we can feel close to them. We want to do what's right for them, but at the end of the day, they're not actually our friends, and they're not actually our family. And having her get back to self. So we talked a little bit about before the show about a morning routine and how that works and how that can really set you up right for each day. Because I like looking at things like the microcosm of each day, and getting her back into her yoga and her breath work, because all of that was out the window, right? She wasn't actually taking care of herself anymore, because and her taking such good care of her clients because she was pouring her heart and soul into everybody. But as we know, if we pour our heart and soul out all the time, since the moment we wake up until the moment we go to bed, like, we're not going to serve our clients that way. So just getting her back to like a baseline, reminding her she is a good attorney, and having her reach the evidence of other cases where she's done well, and the amount of calls that come into this woman. She's doing fabulously. So just really encouraging her, reminding her, and having her do some self-reflection.
That is so hard, especially as a younger attorney. I still struggle with it to this day. You have, especially those certain clients that you have this bond with, and it does feel like they're family or really, really good friends. And you want to absolutely give everything for them, and you do, and you pour out your heart and soul. And I know, during those, especially the bigger cases, the first thing to go is the morning routine, the workout, the healthy eating, the things that sustain you on a day-to-day basis. And so talk to me a little bit about morning routines and why you think they're so helpful.
So especially as for a woman, I'll say from my perspective, and especially if like a young woman is listening and they've had their last child, and the last child's 18 months. I'd say that's usually when my clients start to find me, because their brain is waking up again. And I don't know the same for men. So maybe you can like help tell me like where men's brains start to come online again in terms of, oh, I need a morning routine and I need to get healthy again. So when this woman comes to me, and like this was myself too, it's the woman I talk about in Sparkle and Grit, the morning routine sets you up for everything. And the morning routine, like we talked about a little bit before too, it starts the night before. So the night before, meaning who do I need to be tomorrow? Like, what do I have on tap for tomorrow? Will I be in court? Am I consulting with a client? Do I have a sales call? And like really making sure your night choices support who you need to be the next day. So if you have trial the next day, or you have a sales call the next day, et cetera, like you're looking at your spouse, you're looking at your kids and saying, okay, I've got to get to bed early. I'm not having wine tonight. I'm not eating snacks on the couch. What will serve me best tomorrow is actually going to bed. So getting like good sleep. And then in the morning, waking up and making sure the best you can, the first chunk of your day is for you. I used to say an hour. I don't have that. I don't have an hour anymore to give to myself in that way on every typical day, just because my kids need to be at school earlier. So there's only so much time I have. But like that first, at least half an hour in the day is for you. And you are not looking at your phone first thing. You might use your phone as an alarm, but you're not going right to client email. You're not going to Instagram. You're not going to LinkedIn, that you have that time for yourself first. So in an ideal world, waking up, not looking at your phone, deciding, like moving your body in some way. Right now, my two favorites are Orange Theory or hot yoga, and I try and toggle between the two of them. I find that is the place that I have to be away from everything. You're not allowed to have your phone, right? So I used to work out from home a bunch, and I'm guilty to it too. Like I'll pick up and start looking at emails or Instagram or something mid-workout. I'm like, Wendy, what the heck are you doing? So if I can go to something like Orange Theory or go to something like hot yoga, you're not even allowed to have a phone in the studio. And like taking that time, for the breath work, the meditation, and completing the burnout cycle with, cardiovascular, muscular activity. And then ideally, a journaling practice, like I discussed before as well. And then even like reading a couple of pages of personal development. So something that is going to excel you in some way mentally, either in terms of just becoming the best person you can be, maybe with the best lawyer you can be, maybe a parenting book, maybe a book about anxiety. But if you can do those things first thing before you plug into the rest of your day, like that is when I have been the most successful in terms of my businesses, when my businesses have done the best, and also just in terms of feeling good. And when I feel good, I'm going to advocate better. Or when I feel good about myself, I'm going to have more confidence then to also carry out my day as a mediator, coach, et cetera. And the stuff I can tell what is coming out of my mouth, and the coaching that is coming out of me is infinitely better than if I just wake up, get on emails right away, work, roll into work.
Yeah. So I'm a massive advocate of the morning routine as well. And to your point, it looks different for everybody. But, having some period of time from wake up to before you get kind of going with your day, if you will. And if that can include some sort of exercise, movement, and then some sort of, for me, it's you wake up, it's Bible study, and then it's a workout. Right. And I have the ability to have a little bit more time in the morning to do those things. But when you start the day off by kind of replenishing your brain, replenishing your body, having slept well, to your point, not going out drinking the night before, making sure you're getting in bed at a good time, you've already won a massive part of your day. Like Admiral McCraven, hey, make your bed. Make your bed. Start off with a win. And when you do that, you start off kind of present in a way where you're focused, you've gotten your activity in, so your body's raring to go. And man, that makes walking into the office so much easier. You're walking in with a running start. And for me, when I don't hit those, if I'm out late at a Stars game or, at an event or whatever, and I don't get up and have that morning routine, I completely feel it all day. Because my mind just isn't in the right spot.
And I think it's because we're on the defense then, right? So if we drank wine the night before, we're tired, we're reacting to everything. We're reacting to client emails, we're reacting to phone calls, we're reacting, oh gosh. And we're on this defense, we're on defense mode all day long, and it feels awful, right?
Right.
And we don't actually advance the ball in any way that we want to. But then when we say, okay, no, I'm going to take charge of my day. I'm going to go to bed early and I'm going to make good decisions and I'm going to do these things for myself. Then we get to, I usually say all the time, we're the CEO of our day. Then we get to decide, we are deciding how we're spending our time and where we're going to be and how we're showing up. And just like you said, taking the day by storm, and it feels so much better. And then maybe that day, if we don't have a big thing on tap the next day, then we can relax a little bit. Okay, maybe tonight's a good night for Netflix. Okay, maybe I can enjoy some time with my wife or my husband or whoever. But we've earned that right at a certain point, once we've had enough days under our arsenal where we have decided how they go.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the having a glass of wine with your wife or your husband at night, that's a fulfilling thing too. And if you just completely cut out all the fun or the relationship part of your life, that's no fun. Right. You're not being fulfilled in all the ways. Yeah, balance, exactly. So let's move over to the coaching side of things. I know you really focus on attorneys who are looking to strike out on their own. How did you end up doing that? And then tell me a little bit about the specific kinds of people who should seek you out regarding starting their own place.
Well, how I started doing it is I did it myself first, right?
Good place to start. You've actually done the thing.
So 2018, I decided to leave the firm I had been with for 13 years for every single reason. Every single reason under the sun is a reason why I left. And I very quickly realized the dirty secret that I thought to be true, but I had to see it happen in practice, which is for especially family law attorneys, you make a boatload more money really quickly being a solo as opposed to being a part of a firm. And you have a boatload more time. And I had run the Excel spreadsheet like 20 different ways. And I'm like, really? Like this really could be it? And like, sure enough, after like opening up shop, I think I paid off all my startup expenses within 6 months, given myself a raise, maxed out my 401k. And I just felt like I could finally breathe. And I wanted as many other attorneys who wanted that experience as well to like have me be able to hold their hand. So I opened up shop 2018. I started helping people go solo in earnest, I would say about 3 or 4 years ago. And I wanted them to have what I didn't have, which is like a soup to nuts approach. So when someone approaches me, typically they feel really guilty. They feel really guilty about leaving the firm that they're with. And they're really scared that they're not going to be able to feed their family. Like those are the two things I hear the most. Like, what if I can't put food on the table and I feel awful leaving?
Sure.
So coaching them through the breakup, do they actually want this? Because not everybody does, right? Like you and I talked about before too, like some people I don't think will succeed as a solo. Like if you don't have a book of business as a family law attorney, you're not going to be able to hit the ground running the same way as someone who has established clients. So like I help them first decide if they want to leave, have the breakup conversation, and then side by side, I help them build their business. So I typically use Clio. I love Clio, but I help them build their client management platform, get them ready, help them with a website, like everything that they need in their solo firm to get like registered in their state and go. And then I stay with them through their first month of practice. And that's because there's usually, well, what about this? And I don't understand that. Questions with regard to marketing, questions with regard to what they need to put on LinkedIn. And questions like, how do they build their clients? I stay with them for the first month so they feel comfortable and they've had, again, someone holding their hand through that part of the process as well. And just, I'm a one-stop shop. They get me. I don't have anyone else on my team as of right now. It's just me. And I, again, handhold them and help them build it in the way that feels good to them.
Wow. So it's almost like a little bit somewhat franchisee, right? You have the operating system that you're walking into, and you have the coaching, and you have the marketing plan and the operational system that you're building it out, because it's going to be a little bit different for everybody, but you have someone there to help you do those things. I know when I first started on my own, I didn't have any of that stuff and just had to figure it out.
Right.
You dive into books, you go to mastermind meetings, you reach out to people who have done it, and to have a one-stop shop like that is absolutely huge.
And I love it. Like we talked a little bit about too, about what makes you excited to jump out of bed in the morning. Like, I love this stuff. It doesn't feel like work to me. Every call I have with these clients, whether it's like they're scared, whether we're building, or whether I'm helping them grow, it's fun. It's like a game. It's exciting. It's like, I'll get in the weeds, like ridiculous amount in the weeds, like of the silliest thing. But like, to me, I freaking love it. And it's probably too, because, as a solo, it can be lonely. It can be lonely at times. So it's like fun that we all get to work together in this way. Like, when I bring solos together as well, we get to work in this way, and we have that collaboration as well.
Yeah, having started off as a solo, that is probably one of the hardest things, especially if you're coming from a firm. You don't have somebody next door that you can go chat with, or that you can run an idea by, or maybe you have colleagues that you can do that, but that's just different than having somebody that's quote unquote on your team. And it is incredibly lonely. And when we're hiring at our firm, it seems like we always, every time we have a job ad out, we have solos that reach out like, hey, I need to get back with the team. This is just not me. I'm not either cut out for this, or I don't enjoy this. I really miss the camaraderie or the team aspect of it.
I think in the answer to one of your earlier questions to who it works best for is probably the mom. It's a mom, with two small-ish kids, probably kids between 3 and 4 to high school, college age, she doesn't have time to be a part of a team. Like she wants to be a part of a team. She would love to mentor one day. She doesn't have time. Like, this is the words that came out of my mouth too. Like, I don't have time to mentor someone else. I have my own kids, and any free spot of time needs to be with them. Like, I need to be with them, driving them, getting them somewhere. Just being the mom who can like leave work at 2:30 and go to a soccer game, right? Like that's who I need to be as a person. And I unfortunately, as much as it'd be fun to be a part of the team, I just don't have the freaking time for it. So It's someone that has a wonky schedule, that doesn't want someone breathing down their neck, that even though they are billing the most amount of hours and building businesses and bringing in clients, but they're still getting eye rolls from partners because their schedule looks funny, right? Because they want them to be butts in seats from a certain time to a certain time. Those are the women that tend to gravitate towards me because they want to practice law. They do a good job practicing law, but they don't want to do it on somebody else's terms.
Yeah, it's interesting, the butts and seats concept. I think, over the next decade and a half, we've already seen it changing dramatically, right? With COVID and whatnot. Butts and seats are great for collaboration and things like that. And I mean, our firm, we're in the office mainly. We have work from home days, but I think it's great for the camaraderie and all that kind of stuff. But if you're getting your stuff done, like at the end of the day, I don't really care where you're doing it, so long as like your team's not suffering, your clients aren't suffering, things like that. So I think that attitude is going to change dramatically.
I've seen two very different schools of thought. And I don't like, as I see, there's one firm that I work with, everybody's remote, and they're remote all the time except for one guy. And the camaraderie, it's hard. Like, I don't think that's good either, right? To like, oh, you have ultimate flexibility. It's wonderful all the time. I'm like, but like, what are we missing? And then there's other firms I work with that demand people are back like 5 days a week. And I'm like, your people did better and like build more when they were at home. Like, why can't we have this like hybrid situation? So I think you and I are both I think somewhere in the middle is what's best. I hope we get there.
Yeah. Well, and things are just changing dramatically throughout the entire legal landscape, especially with the overseas workers that are coming now, all of your virtual assistants that are available, as well as clearly the AI technology that's coming. And so, how are you coaching your new solos to use all of this technology to their advantage? Because it seems like it would be easier now to go as a solo than it ever has been.
Yes. So I always say, pick one thing that works for you and use and other things, like, for example, I love Clio. Clio is my practice management. I don't use all the bells and whistles of Clio because if I did, for me to learn them all would be too overwhelming. So first, find what you like, use blinders for the stuff that you think will be too overwhelming, and just use what you can use. But the two pieces of AI I'm telling people that they need to be using all the time, or three. Some of my clients still don't know about ChatGPT. So like giving them a brief, like we'll work on, I'm like, okay, well, what are we working on today? I'm like, okay, what can we plug into chat? What can we throw into chat? And then they see really quickly, oh my gosh, this is making my life so much easier. I'm like, yes, it is. So probably teaching them not to be afraid of it, because I have some attorneys who are still super duper afraid of it because all they've heard about is, oh, AI equals chat equals hallucinations, which, for listeners who makes up fake case law. And that's what everybody's afraid of. So they don't want to touch it at all. So like showing them like where ChatGPT could be helpful in their practice in terms of whatever, all the different things. And the two pieces of AI I'm using all the time lately, and that I keep telling all of my solos about, especially my other fellow mediators, Fathom AI Note Taker is my new best friend. Yep. So I have Fathom board every Zoom meeting I'm on if I can. And then another thing called Spellbook. So for a solo, right? And you and I are talking about this before too. As a solo, we don't have a managing partner looking at all of our stuff, making sure we didn't screw up. And we don't have an associate also, doing the first round of stuff to like help us like move the ball like ahead necessarily. So where I like Spellbook, I call it Grammarly for attorneys. So we know Grammarly, right? Grammarly makes sure, our grammar and spelling and punctuation, all of that is correct. And it's like, having a discerning English professor. Spellbook takes it one step further, which is it reviews our contracts, it reviews motions, it reviews complaints, and it looks for things such as like silly stuff, but like it makes sure we do A+ work. So if we spelled the name Allison with 2 L's up here and 1 L down here, it's going to find it. Spellbook would also find something like you flipped the plaintiff and defendant's name. I don't think you meant to do that, right? Or it will even go as far as to say, hey, you're in Maryland. Under Maryland law, this clause actually might be like unconstitutional for like Maryland law or go against like the case law. You might want to rethink putting this in there, or you need some extra sentences to say. So Spellbook is amazing. And that way, again, is being like the managing partner you don't have anymore, or the senior partner you don't have anymore, giving you feedback on your work. So basically everything I write now, I have Spellbook run through it before I send a final draft or rough draft to a client. I use them as like the people who I can't afford to hire, nor do I feel like hiring, and they're on call, right? Like they're on call all the time. You don't have to like wait around a couple hours for someone to get back to you.
Yeah, and I think with all of the different technology out there, it's easier today to scale your practice significantly without having to necessarily hire more butts in seats, right? And manage more people and all of those kinds of things. And, you know, for our firm, what we're looking at is, I mean, our head of operations is looking at different tools, different vendors on almost a daily basis to say, hey, how do we get our high performers out of doing things that are below their intellectual level, right? Yeah. We want those big brains working on big brain problems. We want those big brains, you know, communicating with clients, developing those relationships, thinking through how to solve bigger problems, not doing day-to-day paperwork or reviewing something that they don't need to be reviewing. And so how do we bridge the gap of, hey, we just had this phone call with, you know, opposing counsel. How do we get a call note in our system without having to sit there for 5 minutes and create a call note in our system?
Yes.
You know, things like that.
Yeah. And that's what I'm loving about Fathom right now. Is I had a discussion with my assistant. I'm like, look, every single time I do a Fathom call with, it's a mediation or a PC client or whatever, drop the Fathom link as a note in Clio, and we can just click on it, and like in 1 second, you can like see everything there. And the beautiful thing about it too is like my clients are saving money because I'm not spending as much time, like you said, like writing a memo. That's sort of like silly, right? It took me half an hour to write a memo about the call we just had.
Right. But
now I can, and here's the link with the AI generated summary. And it's usually 99% right? No, but I love that. And actually I have a power day tomorrow morning to start to think about with my assistant, what can I start to get rid of that I don't need to do anymore? So I have more time free to my calendar so I can mediate, because that's my secret sauce, right? Like that's what I'm good at. And that's what I can't replicate. Like no one else can mediate like me, you know, like I can't scale that right now per se. So I'm having those same discussions with my team as well.
Yeah. And the more of that basic stuff you can clear off their plate allows you to do different things. Like on Tuesdays for us, that's our game plan meeting days. So if we're about to file a case in lit, then we have all of our attorneys on a Zoom or in person if everybody's at the office, and we go through top to bottom that case, and we're talking strategy. We're talking which experts do we need if we don't already have them. We're talking which, you know, witnesses do we need to get depositions from? Which ones do we want to call live? What exhibits do we need? What exhibits do we need to create, or visuals, or all that stuff? And we're looking at, we're saying, hey, we thought about this. Hey, if I'm the defense attorney, am I going to bring this up? Is this evidence that we can keep out? How do we, if not, how do we embrace this evidence? How do we use it for our advantage? Those are the things that really add value to clients' cases. And if I'm a client, I want my attorney doing that kind of stuff, not sitting there proofing a motion to make sure there's no spelling errors or logic errors.
Exactly. I never thought about it in that way, but you're right. And a thing I'm working with another firm on right now is, and they're not doing it right now, I call it run the list meetings. So making sure every Monday that they're, again, all sitting around, and they have baby associates that we're going through every case, maybe parse it out a little bit based on lead attorneys, baby associates, but that they're touching every case for at least a minute. So to make sure like the right things are happening underneath, because the baby lawyer, they just don't know yet, right? They don't know yet, and they need that mentorship. And you didn't ask me this question, but I think it's something important to know. You know, I work with law students right now. I also work with a lot of baby lawyers who might be on a PIP, or might be, their firm has hired me to help coach them up. And the number one thing I hear from them is that they're not getting the mentorship for the older attorneys, or they can't get time on the calendar of the older attorneys, or like they have no one there to help guide them. And you're right. If we can give the silly stuff more and more away to the AI, the stuff that doesn't matter, that will hopefully free up more time for these older attorneys to mentor the younger attorneys to create the people that they want to help run their practice. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to pitch AI a little bit too to some of these firms that are scared of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the benefits are endless. All right. We are almost out of time. We have time for one last question. And same question as always. Give me your top 3 books that either you recommend, that you gift, or just your favorites in general. They can be any kind of book.
Sure. Top 3. So the book that changed my life, The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins, but I would say listening to it on Audible, not reading it. The second book that changed my life, I'm trying to think, because these are the ones like I like to give others, right?
Yeah.
Girl Wash Your Face was huge for me. Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. Like that's the book that woke me up and like shook me and said, no one else is going to care about your dream as much as you. Your dream's not going to happen to you. You have to go after it. I knew it, but the way she said it in the particular chapter, and I remember where I was driving when I listened to it, woke me up. So that one. My book, of course, Sparkle and Grit, right? I talk about it all the time. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. And thank you so much to everyone who tuned in to this episode of the Driven Crowd podcast. We'll see you next time.